25 lost hillbilly sandwiches that defined country life in the 60s and 70s. Can you smell that fried bologna hitting the skillet? Back when lunch meant whatever you could slap between two pieces of bread, Southern folks turned simple ingredients into satisfying meals that cost pennies. Today we're exploring 25 forgotten sandwiches that kept country families fed through lean times and good times alike. Let's start with the fried bologna and mustard sandwich. Nothing said lunchtime in rural America quite like the sizzle of thick-cut bologna hitting a cast-iron skillet. You'd score that pink disc with 4 cuts to keep it from cupping up, then let it brown until the edges got crispy and the kitchen filled with that unmistakable smell. The bologna came from the country store, sliced thick as your thumb at the meat counter for about 30 cents a pound. Once it was good and seared, you'd slap it between 2 pieces of Wonder Bread with a generous swipe of French's yellow mustard. The heat would make that mustard bloom, and the soft white bread would soak up all those pan drippings. Kids would come running when they heard that bologna popping in the pan, knowing lunch was almost ready. Tomato and mayo sandwich. Down south they called them mater sandwiches. And timing was everything. You needed tomatoes so ripe they'd barely hold together when sliced, preferably still warm from the garden. The secret was Duke's mayonnaise spread thick as cake frosting on both pieces of soft white bread. Then came those tomato slices, laid on heavy with plenty of salt and coarse black pepper. The juice would mix with the mayo and create this creamy, tangy sauce that'd drip down your chin with every bite. Old-timers would eat these standing over the sink, juice running down their arms. Some folks added a little sugar to cut the acidity, but purists said that was cheating. During peak tomato season in July and August, many families ate these for lunch every single day. Pimento cheese sandwich. They called it the caviar of the South, but pimento cheese was really just sharp cheddar, jarred pimentos, and mayonnaise mixed into a spread that appeared at every church, social, and family reunion. Every family had their own recipe. Some added cream cheese for smoothness, others threw in a dash of Worcestershire or cayenne. You'd spread it thick between slices of white bread, sometimes adding a slice of cucumber or tomato if you were feeling fancy. The cheese mixture would keep for a week in the refrigerator, making it perfect for quick lunches. Store-bought versions started appearing in the 1960s, but most folks swore homemade was better. Kids would trade their bologna sandwiches for pimento cheese at school, knowing they'd struck gold. Peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. This Depression-era combination hung on through the 1970s, especially in rural communities where every calorie counted. The mayonnaise added fat and moisture to peanut butter, stretching expensive protein and creating a surprisingly creamy texture. You'd spread Jif or Peter Pan on one slice, Duke's or Hellman's on the other, then press them together. Some folks added lettuce for crunch or banana slices for sweetness. The combination provided serious staying power for folks doing physical labor, and at about 15 cents per sandwich, it fit even the tightest budgets. City folks might have turned their noses up at it, but country families knew it would keep you full until supper. Banana and mayonnaise sandwich. Before Elvis made peanut butter and banana famous, Southern folks were already pairing bananas with mayonnaise. You'd slice the banana into coins about a 1/4 inch thick, arrange them on mayonnaise-slathered bread, maybe add a pinch of salt. The mayo kept the banana from browning in lunch pails, and the combination of sweet fruit and tangy mayo created an oddly satisfying flavor. During the 1960s, when bananas cost about 10 cents a pound, this was a common school lunch. Some families mashed the banana into the mayo for easier eating, while others added a sprinkle of sugar or a dash of black pepper. Peanut butter and banana sandwich. The Elvis special took the South by storm after word got out about the King's favorite sandwich. You'd toast the bread in butter until golden, spread peanut butter thick while it was still warm so it got melty, then add sliced bananas. True Elvis style meant adding crispy bacon and sometimes a drizzle of honey. Regular folks usually skip the bacon except for special occasions, but that combination of warm, gooey peanut butter and sweet banana on crispy bread became a treat kids begged for. Some mamas would make these on Saturday mornings, grilling them like grilled cheese until the outside was crunchy and the inside was warm and melted. Peanut butter and pickle sandwich. Sounds crazy until you try it, but the combination of creamy peanut butter and tangy dill pickles created a perfect sweet, salty, sour balance. You'd spread peanut butter on both slices of bread, then layer bread and butter pickles or dill chips in between. The pickles had to be good and crunchy. Those cheap jarred ones that cost 39 cents worked just fine. The vinegar cut through the richness of the peanut butter, and the crunch added texture. Pregnant women swore by these, but plenty of folks ate them just because they tasted good. A jar of peanut butter and a jar of pickles could make a week's worth of lunches. Hoop cheese and tomato sandwich. Hoop cheese was mild, firm cheese sold in big wheels at country stores, sliced to order, on the same machine that cut the bologna. It had less moisture than regular cheddar, making it perfect for sandwiches that might sit in a lunch pail all morning. You'd get a thick slice, maybe a quarter pound, layer it with ripe tomato slices, add salt and pepper, maybe a leaf of lettuce if you had it. The cheese cost about 40 cents a pound and would last weeks if wrapped properly. Old men would sit on store porches eating these with a cold bottle of Coke, solving the world's problems between bites. Vidalia onion and mayo sandwich. When Georgia's sweet onions came into season, folks would eat them like apples. But the real treat was thick slices between mayo-slathered white bread. The onions were so sweet and mild you could eat them raw without crying, and that sweetness played perfectly against the rich mayonnaise. You'd cut the onion thick as a hamburger patty, salt it good, and pile it high. Some added a slice of sharp cheddar or a leaf of lettuce, but purists said that masked the onion's flavor. These sandwiches would perfume your lunch pail something fierce, but nobody minded because everyone else was eating them too. Cucumber and vinegar sandwich. Summer gardens produced more cucumbers than families could eat, so they'd slice them thin, soak them in vinegar with sliced onions, then pile them on buttered white bread. The vinegar bath would soften the cucumbers just enough while keeping them crispy. You'd let them marinate for at least an hour in a mixture of white vinegar, water, a little sugar, and plenty of salt and pepper. The buttered bread was essential. It kept the vinegar from making the sandwich soggy. These were perfect for hot days when you didn't want anything heavy, and that vinegar tang would wake up your appetite even in August heat. Sardine and hot sauce sandwich. A can of sardines cost a quarter and packed serious protein. You'd mash them up with a fork, bones and all for the calcium, mix in some mustard or mayonnaise, then hit it with Louisiana hot sauce or Texas Pete. Spread it on white bread or crackers, maybe add a slice of onion if you were brave. The fishy, salty, spicy combination wasn't for everyone, but folks who grew up on it craved it. Fishermen and factory workers loved these because they didn't need refrigeration and provided long-lasting energy. That little key on the sardine can become a symbol of simple, honest lunch. Vienna sausage and mustard sandwich. Those little canned sausages might seem like kid food now, but they were serious business for working folks who needed portable protein. You'd split them lengthwise and lay them end to end on white bread spread with yellow mustard. Maybe add some pickle relish or hot sauce. A can cost about 30 cents and could make 2 sandwiches if you stretched it. The sausages had that distinctive soft texture and salty flavor that nothing else quite matched. Kids would beg for Vienna sandwiches in their lunch boxes, and many adults kept a can in their desk drawer for emergency lunches. Liver mush sandwich. North Carolina's answer to scrapple, liver mush, was pig liver, head meat, and cornmeal formed into a loaf and sliced thick for frying. You'd cook it in a skillet until both sides were crispy, then serve it on white bread with yellow mustard or mayo. The outside would get crunchy while the inside stayed creamy, and that distinctive liver flavor was either something you loved or couldn't stand. At about 50 cents a pound, it was cheaper than any other meat, and a single loaf could feed a family for days. Some folks added a fried egg on top for breakfast, but the classic lunch version was just liver mush, mustard, and soft white bread. Fried fatback sandwich. Pure salt-cured pork fat might sound extreme, but fried until crispy, fatback became the poor man's bacon. You'd slice it thin, fry it until it rendered out and got crunchy, then layer those crispy strips on bread with sliced tomatoes or a splash of pepper vinegar. The rendered fat would soak into the bread, creating an incredibly rich, salty, satisfying sandwich. During tobacco harvest or cotton picking, when folks needed serious calories, these sandwiches provided energy that lasted all day. A pound of fatback cost about 20 cents and could make a dozen sandwiches once you rendered it down. Pinto bean sandwich. Leftover pinto beans weren't just for supper. Mashed up with a fork and spread on bread, they made a filling lunch that stuck to your ribs. You'd season them with a little mayo or mustard, maybe add some chow chow or pickle relish for tang. The beans would be creamy and earthy, and that bread would soak up all the pot liquor flavor. Some folks added a slice of onion or a splash of hot sauce. During the Depression and well into the 1970s, a pot of beans might feed a family for 3 days. Soup the first night, beans and cornbread the second, bean sandwiches for lunch on day 3. Fried egg sandwich. Simple as it gets, an egg fried in bacon grease or butter, slapped between 2 pieces of bread with plenty of black pepper. You could go runny for that yolk explosion or hard fried for easier eating. The key was using the hot grease to toast the bread slightly, giving it flavor and preventing sogginess. Add a slice of cheese while the egg was still hot, or a piece of country ham if you were lucky. These were breakfast and lunch combined for folks who started work before dawn. That combination of crispy edges and creamy yolk made magic with everyday ingredients. Bologna salad sandwich. When even sliced bologna seemed too fancy, folks would grind up the ends and odd pieces with pickle relish and mayonnaise, creating a spread like ham salad but cheaper. The meat grinder would turn tough bologna into something spreadable, and the pickles added necessary acidity. Some added hard-boiled eggs or a little mustard, but the basic version was just ground bologna, mayo, and relish. A single bologna roll could make enough salad for a week's worth of sandwiches. Kids loved it because it was easier to eat than regular bologna, and parents loved it because nothing went to waste. Salmon patty sandwich. Canned salmon cost about 40 cents and could be stretched into multiple meals. You'd mix it with crushed crackers or breadcrumbs, an egg, some onion, form it into patties, and fry them until golden. Served on white bread with mayonnaise, lettuce, and maybe a slice of onion, it was Friday food for many Catholic families. The bones in the salmon were soft enough to mash in, adding calcium. Some folks made salmon salad instead, mixing the fish with mayo and relish. But the fried patties were special. That crispy crust giving way to flaky salmon inside made canned fish feel like a treat. Meatloaf sandwich. Cold meatloaf sliced thick and laid on white bread with ketchup became tomorrow's lunch. The meatloaf would firm up overnight, making it perfect for slicing, and those flavors would meld and deepen. Some folks pan-fried the slices for a crispy crust, others ate it cold straight from the fridge. A good meatloaf sandwich needed that perfect balance of meat, breadcrumbs, and seasonings, plus enough ketchup or tomato sauce to keep it moist. You might add a slice of cheese or some pickles, but honestly, good meatloaf didn't need much help. Making extra meatloaf just for sandwiches became standard practice. Country ham biscuit. When you could afford country ham, those salty, funky slices went perfectly in a split buttermilk biscuit. The ham was cured for months, sometimes years, developing an intense flavor that city folks might call an acquired taste. You'd slice it paper thin because a little went a long way, warm it in a skillet just until the edges curled, then tuck it into a biscuit with butter or a drizzle of red-eye gravy made from the pan drippings and black coffee. These were special occasion sandwiches, maybe Christmas morning or Easter breakfast, when the good ham came out of the smokehouse. Fried green tomato sandwich. Before the movie made them famous, country folks were slicing green tomatoes, dredging them in cornmeal, and frying them until golden. Stack those tangy, crunchy slices on white bread with mayonnaise or remoulade, maybe some lettuce and bacon if you had it. The green tomatoes had a tartness that ripe ones lacked, and that cornmeal crust added texture that regular tomatoes couldn't match. These were end-of-season treats when you had to pick the remaining tomatoes before first frost. Some folks added pimento cheese instead of mayo, creating a double Southern sandwich that'd make any transplant homesick. Apple butter and sharp cheddar sandwich. The combination of tangy aged cheddar and sweet spiced apple butter created a perfect balance that worked any time of day. The apple butter was homemade, cooked down for hours until it was dark and thick, full of cinnamon and cloves. You'd spread it on one slice of bread, layer sharp cheddar on top, maybe toast it to melt the cheese slightly. The contrast between creamy sweet fruit and sharp salty cheese made every bite interesting. These showed up in lunch pails and at church socials, a step up from everyday sandwiches, but still simple enough for regular eating. Sorghum and butter sandwich. Sorghum molasses was the South's answer to maple syrup, made from sorghum cane and cooked down into thick, dark syrup. Mixed with soft butter and spread between bread or biscuits, it made a sandwich that was part dessert, part sustenance. The sorghum had a complex, almost smoky sweetness that paired perfectly with salted butter. Some folks called it sopping syrup and used it for everything from pancakes to cornbread, but the sandwich version was quick energy for farm kids. You'd mix equal parts butter and sorghum until creamy, spread it thick, and enjoy that mineral-rich sweetness that store-bought sweets couldn't match. Potato chip sandwich. The ultimate lazy lunch, crushed potato chips and mayonnaise between white bread. The chips added salt and crunch to otherwise plain bread, and the mayo held everything together. Some folks added bologna or ham, but purists said the chips were the star. You wanted the cheap chips, the ones that came in the big bag for 50 cents, crushed just enough to stay put, but not so much they turned to dust. Kids would make these when parents weren't home, feeling rebellious eating junk food as a meal. Which of these forgotten sandwiches do you remember making? Sugar sandwich. The simplest treat in the whole lineup. Butter and white sugar on white bread. You'd butter the bread generously, sprinkle granulated sugar on top, fold it in half, and call it dessert. Some kids got fancy with brown sugar or cinnamon sugar, but plain white sugar was the classic. These were after-school snacks when the cookie jar was empty, or breakfast when you were out of everything else. Parents might shake their heads, but they'd eaten plenty of sugar sandwiches themselves growing up. That sweet, buttery crunch was childhood in sandwich form, costing literally pennies to make and bringing pure joy to any kid lucky enough to get one. Thanks for joining us on this trip down memory lane. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe.